The San Francisco 49ers signing a new running back in the wake of the Elijah Mitchell injury. Marlon Mack, veteran running back, a former 1,000-yard back. We'll get into that. There's been a lot of comments about Trey Lance. Mike Martz, former offensive coordinator for the 49ers, former NFL head coach, had some things to say, interesting things to say about both Trey Lance and Justin Fields from week one. And are the 49ers potentially turning on Lance? Do some players want Jimmy G at quarterback? We will get into all of it and turn the page to week two. Coming up on today's Locked On 49ers.
You are Locked On 49ers, your daily San Francisco 49ers podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome to Locked On 49ers. Brian Peacock and Eric Crocker with you as always at BD Peacock at Eric_Crocker. And if you're watching us on YouTube, you know we have an extra special guest today, as he is with us every Wednesday. We record Tuesday evenings, and we might be up early on Tuesday evening on YouTube as well. You can always get the podcast a little bit early the night before there if we do record early, as we did on this Winky Wednesday with today's guest, Mr. Nicholas Winkler.
Nicholas Winkler, come on down.
Can't believe it.
Is that what you said, Wink, when you saw the final score that the San Francisco 49ers lost to the Chicago Bears in week one?
I wish I could say I didn't believe it, but I watched the football game, right? And it was sloppy, it was ugly, the penalties, it just didn't look like a good football game. And when I saw Elijah Mitchell go out, I was like, oh no, everything's going against them. You know, it's just one of those games where I think you got to kind of write it off, right? It's one of those things that happens. It was rainy. It was sloppy. It was the first game of the year. All this pressure. You get some injuries. You get some bad penalties. You know, you make some bad penalties, and then all of a sudden you look up and you're like, oh, we're down 2 scores, and there's a monsoon, so we're not coming back. So I'd like to be upset about it, but I just couldn't be, because it's football. You never know what's going to happen week to week. It was a bad game. Move on.
Wink, I know you're stinking on something for today. I first want to let everybody know and say thank you for making Locked On 49ers your first listen here on the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. And LinkedIn Jobs helps you find the candidates you want to talk to faster. Post your job for free at linkedin.com/LockedOnNFL. All right, I know you are fired up about something, Wink. And we like to go wink in the stink sometimes here when Nick is a little bit fired up, a little bit upset about something that happened in the football game. So let's start there. Let's get this out of the way first, and then we can. Well, there's some negative things to get to on this podcast, because there's just some. I don't even know what to say about some of the things that some of the folks are talking about out there. We got some video and some comments coming from Mike Martz, Chris Sims a little bit later. And 49ers own offensive lineman's video there. But Wink, what are you thinking on this Winky Wednesday?
I mentioned I watched the game, right? We all watched the game. I can't.
You're just thinking that you hadn't watched the game? Is that what it is?
I can't understand how people put this loss on Trey Lance. Like, it doesn't make any sense to me. This was not Trey Lance's fault. This was not. And what really bothers me about this the most is the people calling for Jimmy Garoppolo. Like, already, it's so stupid to me. I can't understand it. It's like, I'll paraphrase Will Smith, but keep Jimmy Garoppolo's name out your damn mouth. Like, he has no business being brought up right now. Like, Trey Lance is the future of this football team. He had moments of looking great. Yeah, he missed a couple throws, and then the fourth quarter, can't hold that against any quarterback, and you don't want to see him running 14 times, but he made some great plays with his legs. He kept other plays alive, and I think the future looks great for Trey Lance. Knock it off with the Garoppolo nonsense.
What is this Garoppolo stuff?
Right?
I'm probably thinking this whole episode. What is this?
There might be a lot of stank on today's episode. So hold on. So Croc, and if let's say it's 50% of the fan base and 50% of the media that cover the 49ers that say it should be Jimmy Garoppolo playing. Let's say there's a couple players on the team. Does that start to really matter? Because if it's only outside noise, that doesn't matter at all. But we know, and we talked about it, and I'm sure, Kyle Shanahan and John Lynch aren't stupid, maybe slightly naive about some things, but they knew they opened the door to this sort of criticism and that this second guessing would happen if Jimmy Garoppolo was on the roster. They knew that was a possibility and probably a high likelihood of happening. But as long as it's just outside noise, does it even matter? But when does it start matter if there are players on the team? Because we've seen how divided the fan base is. There are some players, and there's got to be some truth to it that maybe there's a player that's like, hey, maybe Jimmy Garoppolo should be playing quarterback.
Well, first of all, you said 50% of the media. I think it's 98%. And
the national media, especially the talking heads, they don't really follow the team that closely.
Yeah, the people that are keeping it from being 100% is probably Louis Riddick and Steve Mariucci.
Yeah, and
like, dude, the kid's gonna be fine.
I would say
like, he
both.
Made some throws, he's gonna be fine.
I'd say both. But
everyone
Bucky
else
Brooks and Daniel Jeremiah are also a part of that 2%.
Okay, the whole thing is kind of bothering me today. Just kind of feel like it's extremely weird how like the piling on of a guy in his third start. We're going to get to that, but as far as it filtering into the locker room, when you hear Chris Sims say that, it definitely makes you kind of your ears perk up a little bit. And, who would say that? Which guys? I definitely feel like there are guys that are 100% behind Jimmy Garoppolo, and how could they not be? There are probably guys that weren't happy that they drafted another quarterback, regardless of how young this young guy will eventually play. They don't care about that. Jimmy Garoppolo is their guy. I've talked, and I'm not trying to say that it's Deebo Samuel or anyone else, but if I'm Deebo Samuel, hell yeah, like, give me Jimmy. I just got paid $20 million a year or whatever it is. I got paid because of Jimmy Garoppolo delivering the ball to me. I want that more than some of these guys. One thing about Deebo, and he cares. He cares, right? Like I saw him crying that I believe it was NFC Championship game or Super Bowl. One of those times I saw him cry. So he does care. But one thing that I have learned about Deebo Samuel, he didn't grow up watching sports. He didn't grow up like having that type of attachment. So I don't know. I mean, and I think he's very competitive from that standpoint and wants to be the best version of himself. But I know he wants to get paid. And Jimmy got him there. So there might be like this kind of sense of loyalty to Jimmy, not maybe just by Deebo. And again, I don't want to put words in Deebo's mouth, but by maybe other guys on this roster as well, where it's like, dude, like, we went with this guy.
Yeah, and that's what you got to accept, right? Is that they went with Lance. Like, that's your guy that you should be backing. You know me, I was a big Jimmy guy. I was always like, yeah, Jimmy Garoppolo, let's go. But it's like the page has been turned. He's there as emergency glass. Like,
big Jimmy guy. Like, me too. I feel like I defended him, and that's the other weird part to this, where 99% of the people that have turned on Trey Lance or whatever, this whole scenario, and before he even really got a chance to play, right, even before these games, it's been, oh, man, they need to do this. Jimmy Garoppolo, he wins. Y'all the same people for the last 2-3 years trying to replace Jimmy Garoppolo with any quarterback that's available. Y'all the same dudes for the last 2-3 years that have been saying the 49ers can't win it all with Jimmy Garoppolo. Y'all the same dudes for the last 2-3 years saying the 49ers have the worst quarterback situation in the playoffs. But, they can win because, well, they got a good run game, got a strong defense. Stephen A. Smith, and I remember him saying this, I can think of 5 things before I get to Jimmy Garoppolo, the quarterback. Kittle, Deebo, the run game, the defense, Kyle Shanahan. I could think of all those things before I even get to Jimmy. That was the narrative until he's not the guy playing.
Yep.
When everybody had an opportunity to get him, nobody wanted him. Right. I don't care what the scenario. If you're good enough, if you're the guy, if you are the guy that they claim that he is right now, right? Jimmy Garoppolo, take a team all the way. If you are that guy, hurt or not, teams will trade for you.
I mean,
if you're that guy.
The old saying, right, of a struggling team, the most popular guy on a struggling team is the backup quarterback.
So, I don't know. I got some more. I ain't done yet.
Yeah, I know you're not done yet, Croc. I know that Eric Crocker is fired up about this one. So we will have some fun here and get into
real quick, Peacock. Only because I just don't think it doesn't feel right. It don't feel right to me. Same way when they were piling on Jimmy, and I was like, why are people getting on Jimmy like this? Why are they always trying to replace him? Like, it doesn't make sense. And maybe it's a San Francisco 49er quarterback thing where it's just generating a ton of clicks. So we're going to keep just pushing this and pushing this and pushing this. And we're going to talk about it every single day, no matter what. Maybe that's it. Because, again, I defended Jimmy Garoppolo. And now it's just Trey Lance maybe he does end up being trash. Maybe. But I don't think we know that right now. And that's the part where I'm like, this is really weird how the media is doing this. And Mark Martz, I can't wait to get to that. What the hell?
All right, more of that coming up. I think Croc teased it quite well. Mike Martz comments. What's going on with the comments from Chris Sims? Do we have some video evidence of players that might not be super happy that whoever their quarterback is that they are blocking for? A ton to get to, and we'll talk a little bit about Marlon Mack, the newest 49er running back as well. But first, we got to let the folks know about LinkedIn. As you gear up for fall, you need the right people on your team to help your small business fire on all cylinders. LinkedIn Jobs is here to make it easier to find the people you want to talk to faster and for free. Create a free job post in minutes on LinkedIn Jobs to reach your network and beyond to the world's largest professional network of over 810 million people. I'm on LinkedIn. You're on LinkedIn. Wink's on LinkedIn. You know that's where everybody is. So why not post your job there? Then add your job to the purple hiring frame on your LinkedIn profile to spread the word that you're hiring so your network can help you find the right people to interview and eventually hire. Simple tools like screening questions make it easy to focus on the candidates with just the right skills and experience so you can quickly prioritize who you'd like to interview and hire. It's why small businesses rate LinkedIn Jobs #1 in delivering quality hires versus leading competitors. LinkedIn Jobs helps you find the candidates you want to talk to faster. Did you know every week, nearly 40 million job seekers visit LinkedIn? Post your job for free at linkedin.com/lockedonnfl. That's linkedin.com/lockedonnfl to post your job for free. Terms and conditions apply. Thanks again, everybody, for making Locked On 49ers your first listen. For your second listen, make sure you're checking out the Peacock and Williamson NFL show daily right here on the Locked On Podcast Network, and Eric Crocker on the Locked On NFL Draft Podcast. Okay, guys. I don't have the exact quote in front of me right now, but essentially on his podcast, Chris Sims said that
Serenity now.
Chris Sims said that that he knows for a fact that there are players. He wouldn't name any names. He says there are players on the San Francisco 49ers roster that think Jimmy Garoppolo should be playing quarterback. Now, I have been, pretty consistent on the show that I don't really believe anything that Chris Sims says, and he's he has to talk a lot, and I don't really think that, even though he's buddies with Kyle Shanahan, or used to be best buddies, I don't know how close they are anymore, but I don't think Kyle Shanahan's feeding Chris Sims information, or especially important information, and I don't think this would be something that he would share with Chris Sims. I don't think he shares much draft information with Chris Sims either, and clearly not his quarterback rankings now, as we know. But maybe he's talking to somebody. Maybe he knows. Maybe he's talked to a player and heard this. I don't know how serious he is. I will just say this: that it's not unplausible that it is the case that maybe some 49ers players would prefer Jimmy Garoppolo. But I think they're professionals, and it doesn't matter. Do they keep quiet and go play hard for their quarterback is the big question, right? Or else that's when it becomes maybe a problem. Because, Croc, as you said, it's still about you getting your money. So if you don't like a quarterback, you start playing bad, you're not going to get paid either, because nobody's going to want to pay you if you're playing bad. So it doesn't make any sense. So I don't think it's necessarily a problem just because someone might like Jimmy more than Trey. And eventually Trey's going to win some of those people over anyway. But I do have some video evidence here that might point to a potential player that it was a weird moment.
Or two.
I'm going to let a player or two. I'm going to let it play this video on Twitter, courtesy of Rich Madrid, who loves himself some film and loves breaking down some film. And this was one particular play, one sack from Sunday, and one play of Trey Lance. And I just want you guys to watch, especially Mike McGlinchey here, and just the body language of this sack and what happens on this play. And you guys tell me if this looks at all a little bit weird to you. And for those folks that are not watching on YouTube, I'll explain what's happening as well on this play. So this is 49ers Bears from week 1, and Trey Lance dropping back to throw, and it was the rookie defensive end. It was Robinson, the rookie, that just beats Mike McGlinchey super quick, and this video is not loading very well right now, but he beats Mike McGlinchey like a drum quickly for a sack. It was a 3rd down play, and that's the end of the drive, and the 49ers trot off the field, and the field goal team, or the field goal team, punt team comes on. I think that looks like field goal range there. Was that the field goal early in the game? And You tell me, guys, what do you think about the body language here of Mike McGlinchey just trotting off the field super quick? Nobody's helping up their quarterback after getting him sacked. I mean, you rarely see that in the NFL where your guy sacks your quarterback and you don't help up the quarterback at all. Does this look at all strange to you?
He's looking down at him too. Look at him.
He kind of steps over him, like when you see like a disrespectful basketball play, like people love posting their basketball
Allen
stuff.
Iverson over Tyronn Lue.
Yeah, you cross somebody over, then you step over him, all disrespectful. Like that's almost what Mike McGlinchey does here. I thought it looked like Mike McGlinchey's mom called for him that dinner was ready on the sideline, and he just like, oh, gotta go, guys, see it.
Yeah, people are saying Trent Williams too, but he's kind of blocked out by McGlinchey. Because watch this, look at McGlinchey, just like, oh yeah, he watches him go down, stares down at him, steps over him, and runs off the field. What is that?
It was very strange.
Get the ball out in 1.3 seconds like Jimmy Rook.
Yeah. I mean,
I'm pretty sure that led to a punt too.
He got sacked in less than 1.3 seconds because he got beat bad. That's the other part of it. It's like, sorry, dude, it helped him up because he got beat very quickly on that play. Trent Williams doesn't help him up either, though. But he just doesn't run off the field as fast as McGlinchey, and he didn't get beat to give up the sack either. So, but yeah, nobody's helping up their quarterback. That is a little bit odd. It's not the biggest deal. It might be nothing, but slightly strange, right?
Yeah, especially if you're the guy that gave it up. Like, what's up with that? Like, you should at least feel a little bit bad about it, a little remorse. Like, oh, yeah, that one's on me. No, I'm going to run over there, go sit down. It's wet.
The only thing I can think of is maybe he was really upset at himself, so he ran off. That's me giving him the benefit of the doubt because it does not look good.
Mm-hmm. No, and Trent Williams looks tired. He's just like, because he hasn't played any preseason. Everybody got like a little bit. So he's just like, I'm going to go sit down.
Well, yeah, McGlinchey just looked at him, stepped over him, and ran off, sprinted off the field. Like, dude, that's the fastest I've seen you move since becoming a 49er. Man. I lied. That one play against the Raiders when he was lead blocking like 60 yards down the field, he was moving on that play. But outside from that, he was moving very well running off the field.
All right, we're going to get to the Mike Martz video and his comments next about both Trey Lance and Justin Fields. And before that, though, I do want to talk really quick about the newest 49er, Marlon Mack, former Indianapolis Colts. He played pretty well against the 49ers in that final preseason game. He was playing for the Houston Texans. I think he ran for 55 yards. He's at that age where running backs start to devalue a little bit, and clearly nobody wanted to pick him up after he was cut from the Texans. They decided to go with the rookie Dameon Pierce there and Rex Burkhead, who they already have on the roster. So he was still out there on the street, and the 49ers aren't even signing him to the 53-man roster. They're adding him to the practice squad. But adding a veteran player, Wink, you play a lot of fantasy football, no doubt at some point, and maybe that 1,000-yard year in 2019, maybe you had him on your fantasy roster, right? So what do you think about the addition of Marlon Mack?
I don't know if it does much for me right now. Like, it's a name, like you said, fantasy football owners will remember Marlon Mack, but Indianapolis let him go, and then Houston let him go. So maybe there's not a lot there, a lot of tread left on the tire, if you will. But it's also they need depth, right? I mean, you just lost Mitchell for 2 months. You need to add somebody. Maybe he came in and they're like, yeah, this guy is exactly what we want for our scheme. Maybe he's a great pass blocker. Maybe he's got the fundamentals that the 49ers are looking for right now, because they have after Jeff Wilson, you've got, Price, and then you've got Jordan, right? Or
Jordan Mason, yeah.
Yeah, Jordan Mason. Yeah, I mean, those are two young guys that have zero experience. So it's like, okay, you added a veteran to your running back room and maybe a guy that gets called up if something else happens. But to me, overall, it's a whatever.
Croc, are you excited about Marlon Mack?
I liked him a couple years ago. He's a guy who I thought was extremely dynamic. If you remember 2017, I believe it was, he was the guy that the 49ers had a lot of trouble with when they played the Indianapolis Colts. He was very explosive. I believe he had like 100 yards on like 9 carries or something like that, and ultimately resulting in the 49er loss. So I remember him from that. I watched him since then. It was an explosive guy, but I believe he had an injury over the last couple years that may have kind of derailed his career just a little bit. So I don't know exactly what version of Marlon Mack the 49ers are getting, but if he's someone that fits the scheme, I would be excited to see him run. I know if this was 2019 or whenever it was, he was like a free agent or he was kind of available via trade, I probably would have been a little bit more excited. But if he can show any type of flashes of the old him, that is something worth keeping note of. Or maybe you could have just, I don't know, kept JaMychal Hasty. I don't know.
Oh man.
yeah, JaMychal Hasty would help out right now. Maybe even Trey Sermon would have helped out right now. Marlon Mack, similar signing to Wayne Gallman kind of last year, but
There you go.
he's a veteran
Alfred
player.
Morris a couple years ago.
Yeah, exactly. He's a running back, and if you have another injury, which no doubt the 49ers will, and if that happens before Elijah Mitchell's back, you have a little bit more depth that you can call upon for your 53-man roster. But I wouldn't expect. Yeah, and you're right, Croc. Marlon Mack's only played 7 games in the last 2 years after that 1,000-yard season in 2019. So we will see what Marlon Mack has left in the tank with the 49ers and see if he gets activated from the practice squad to the big squad this week or any other week in 2022. Next, Mike Martz comments about Trey Lance and Justin Fields, quarterbacks for the Chicago Bears and San Francisco 49ers. But first, got to let the folks out there know about BetOnline, your number one source for all your pro and college football betting needs and sports information this season. Find all the latest football league developments, game matchups, news, reviews, scores, everything you need to make those bets and make informed bets, and including lines on week 2 all the way through week 16 of the NFL season. By the way, 49ers were big favorites before Monday Night Football. They were favored by 9 points at home in the home opener against the first place Seattle Seahawks. I wonder if that line moves a little bit in the other direction. If you were going to bet on the 49ers, you might want to wait on that one to see if that line came down a little bit at BetOnline. BetOnline is also your continued source for not just wagering, but it's that information that you can make those informed bets. There's live betting, esports, and more. Major League Baseball, MMA, boxing, golf, you name it, you can bet on it at BetOnline. Casino games as well. So get over to the website today or use your mobile device to learn more about the trends in action at BetOnline, where the game starts. All right, Croc, I know you were fired up yesterday, fired up still today about Trey Lance and some of the weird things that get said. And we've heard a lot said about a lot of these quarterbacks, and, there's different takes from everybody. But a former respected mind in the NFL, he doesn't work in the NFL anymore, Mike Martz. He was on the 33rd team. Is that what it's called? I'm not sure what this program even is, or podcast. I've never tuned in before, but I saw this clip of Mike Martz, and he is talking about both Trey Lance and Justin Fields, starting with Justin Fields here. These are Mike Martz comments about these two young quarterbacks.
He can only go up. He can only get better, because you can't get any worse than what he did today.
2013. This is Mike Martz.
I'm just shocked at the Bears. I mean, they took this quarterback. They went up and they spent a lot to get him, and he was less than remarkable would be the kindest thing that you could say about him. I don't know if I've ever seen such a bad performance by a quarterback in his opening performance of the season. Like, he was just completely awful. He really deflated the football team with his performance. They just, when you get a quarterback that can't do anything at all, and defensively, you shut him out basically for a half, you kind of lose hope. Right now they're a team without hope. I want their eyeballs.
That was
I've never seen anything.
Now
about
this is about Trey Lance.
Encouraging at all. He really has to plan himself to make a good throw. He's not a quick decision guy. Everybody's shot in the rear about him being a mobile guy making plays with his feet. He looked like a fullback stumbling around trying to run the ball to me. I mean, he's not Lamar, so I don't know what he is. He's not particularly a good guy running with the football. And based on what I saw today, I mean, he missed 2 guys completely by themselves. I know it was in the rain, but quarterbacks do that. You make those throws. I know this, he can only go up. He can only get better, because you can't get any worse than what he did today. I've never liked him. I still don't like him. I don't know. I'd like to know what he does so well, because he's not a great passer, doesn't have good skills, takes him a long time to set himself and throw the football, misses easy throws, and he's not particularly a good runner. Other than that, he's a hell of a player.
That is Mike Martz. And the reason I'm laughing about him saying Justin Fields can't do anything at all, and that never liked Trey Lance, doesn't see why anybody liked anything about Trey Lance. The reason it's funny is just because of how unfiltered he is, but I think he's so unfiltered because he had a little too much truth serum Is he not completely hammered right there?
It sure sounds like it, right? It's like you just wait for the ice to clink in the glass, like as he's swirling it around. Like, that was some nonsense. Oh, he does all these things horribly. He's bad at everything. Other than that, he's a great player. It's like, what are you even talking about, old man? Like,
I mean, he absolutely crushes both of those guys. And like, look, I love it. I love the unfiltered nature of it. Say how you feel if that's how you feel. But I think there was something else going on there that added to why his takes were so unfiltered there.
It seemed like it was that grumpy, like, get off my lawn, old man coming out right there. And I can't stand for that.
Very get off my lawn. Croc, other factors maybe to what Mike Martz is saying.
Oh, no.
A bunch of nonsense, I think, is what it is.
I will say this. I at least feel like he's being genuine about his comments, as opposed to a talking head on ESPN that is giving this and they maybe see some highlights, or maybe they regurgitate what other people say, or they have a narrative to actually push. I don't think he has anything to push. I don't think there's any narrative. I don't think there's anything. I truly feel like he doesn't like either one of these guys. So at least I can respect that, because it's coming from, like, it feels like someone who watched the guys and is like, I just don't like them. I don't like the players. I can respect that over people that say this other BS that we've been seeing going around.
And he talks about, that he missed 2 open receivers. Yeah, quarterbacks miss guys. Like, that happens. And then he says he's no Lamar. Yeah, there's one Lamar Jackson. Like, these guys
stumbling
aren't
around,
him.
look like a fullback.
What is that?
He led both teams in rushing. Like, that's got to be something.
He made some good moves too. He made some great throws in this game. Also.
He made some really good throws.
I'm not sure he watched that whole game.
That's where I think here's the tough thing, and I think it's a little irresponsible, and we touched on it yesterday. The talking heads that people go to. The person that tweeted this out, the Dan Glover, whatever his name is. All right, let me get his name right. NFL Dove or whatever. Am I butchering it?
Dove Kleiman or something like that? Yeah.
It's irresponsible of those guys because they put it, I don't even want to say irresponsible. It's probably good for their business, for whatever they do.
Oh, yeah.
Generate interaction.
On that video. Yeah.
Yeah, how many hits he's going to get. We just talked about it. I see the views on it. 277,000 views, right? So he puts it out there, and it's irresponsible in the sense of that's now the narrative that people who don't watch this closely are going to take.
Right.
And that's what's going to circulate around, and that gets to the people at ESPN, and they see that take, and then that's in their head, so then they kind of spit that take out on theirs. It's like, well, watch, I bet tomorrow or the day after or so we're going to see, hey, it takes too long to set his feet to throw the football. Right?
Just regurgitating nonsense.
That one talking point. Yeah. And we'll see. Well, look, and it does take that was both of their problems last year. Those were two of the quarterbacks that took the longest to get rid of the football. Clearly it's something that's happening with Justin Fields. I think Lance is a little bit quicker to me, it looks, although his time to throw was way too slow. It was even slower, I think, than the Justin Fields was last year. But these are young players that have a lot to work on. I don't think they looked amazing in that game, but it was a monsoon, and I like how he just sloughs that part off. He's like, oh yeah, well, it's raining, but people make those throws. He's like, do they? Show me all these amazing passing stats in the rain from some of these quarterbacks, Croc.
Well, here's the thing. He doesn't mention any of the throws that they made, right?
Right.
So, and that's the part where I think is a little weird. Both quarterbacks made a couple of throws. Now, I think Trey Lance made more throws than Justin Fields. And I saw something, Justin Fields, he had 8 completions, and 5 of them were at or within 2 yards of the line of scrimmage. So he only had 3 other ones that actually traveled past the line of scrimmage, and 2 of them were touchdowns on the busted coverage, and then the other one was like kind of a wheel route, and he threw it into a hole, and there was that one. But outside of that, he didn't even have any other. But I thought Trey Lance threw some nice drive throws throughout the game. Started off with whipping one to Ayuk. I talked about the Ray McCloud one. I think that was probably one of the better throws I probably saw all day.
So good.
He had the deep ball to Jawan Jennings. 3rd down and long, threw it over the middle to Ross Dwelly. So there were some throws there, and it's like, I'm not going to mention any of the throws he actually made in the rain. I'm only going to mention that he missed a guy in the rain.
It was not just him, too.
Go ahead. I was just
Well, it was
saying,
also talking.
once they got to the fourth quarter, like those are definitely you couldn't have
Yeah.
expected any throws in that rain when it was coming down that hard. That was
Peacock, you're making excuses.
We
what we're
also
gonna
talked
see.
about this
It was
is the
just
worst
good.
first game I've ever seen for a guy starting a season. It's like, no, I guarantee you go back. There's a lot of 3, 4, 5.
Joe Burrow just threw 4
interception games from that.
interceptions yesterday and turned it over
Exactly.
another time.
Mhm.
Come on, that's just nonsense.
Shoot. I've talked about in the past, Jimmy Garoppolo playing against the Minnesota Vikings. He threw 3 picks and 1 pick six.
Right.
I mean, we've seen quarterbacks not have great out. That is the part I don't get. I
We're
don't
maybe giving
get it.
him too much attention for all this nonsense he's feeling.
It's wild. And I don't know. I said something before we got on here. I forgot exactly what I said, but whatever I said, I meant that.
You were upset.
Peyton Manning led the league in interceptions his rookie year. He threw 28 interceptions.
Maybe
won
he set his
28.
feet faster.
He went 3-13. Set his feet fast on those picks though. Like he
Yeah.
was
Brett
decisive.
Favre is the all-time interceptions leader.
Right. Yeah. He got the ball in the defender's hands very quickly.
Brett Favre got traded after his rookie year.
Right.
That's true.
Good
He was
call.
too wild. He was like, "What do we do with this guy?" So yeah. Anyway, that
What does development look like?
Yeah.
I know what I was saying. Everybody talks about Trey Lance and all this, that, and the other, and you can't do this, can't do that. And the last time we saw Trey Lance start a game in the regular season on the line, 49ers don't win this game, they don't go to the playoffs. He completes 70% of his passes, throws another 2 touchdowns, did have a pick, ran in another touchdown that ended up being called back, had the explosive play down the field. I mean, they act like this guy is just some incompetent. He has started 3 games, and that was one of them. That was my take. That 3 games, and one of them was I completed 70% of my passes, threw a couple touchdowns, a pick, in a must-win game to go to the playoffs. And it's like, nah, can't play football at all.
Ugh.
I take it back to what we talked about before the season even started and before week 1. And it was that there's going to be ups and downs. What's going to happen? Are people going to lose their minds when there's some less than stellar quarterback play?
Oh, they have
And
lost
it's
their
rough.
minds.
And
Yeah,
we
they've
knew
lost
it
their
was gonna
minds.
happen.
Hey,
And the
listen,
roughest part is they were supposed to win this football game, and I think that's why people are so upset. Is
That
because
might
you
be.
look at the schedule and you're like, Bears, this is a win, right? And now you start off the season 0-1. People are just ready to hit the panic button. Just relax.
Mhm.
Relax, man. I had a girl, and I'm not gonna say her name. She's cool. She's a real chill person, but she's on Facebook, and she's talking about, they need to put in Jimmy G or do the Drew Brees and Taysom Hill combination. I'm like, that's not even Trey Lance's game like that. And I said, man, it's crazy, how quickly people forget like the reality of having Jimmy Garoppolo as your quarterback and what you are trying to improve on. Like, I didn't forget we never lost a game with Jimmy Garoppolo, or nobody ever came back on the 49ers. Nobody ever came back on the 49ers with Jimmy Garoppolo.
You sure
It
about
happened
that?
4 times just last year.
You might want to check a Super Bowl a few years ago.
Seattle Seahawks last year. Remember, 49ers were up 17-10. The Indianapolis Colts, 49ers were up 10-0. The Tennessee Titans, 49ers were up 10-0. The NFC Championship game, 49ers were up 10 points in the fourth quarter. That's just last year. The 49ers lost those games.
Mm-hmm.
Like, what are we doing?
Everybody
And
needs to stop talking
This is
about
not
Garoppolo.
me. This is not me like saying I hate Jimmy Garoppolo. This is me pushing back on the narrative that they're acting like Jimmy Garoppolo does no wrong. I'm like, that
Or that
is
he
not
would have
the
won that
case.
football game. He would not have won that football game for the
Well,
49ers.
and so that's my thing. Oh, he would have won. Well,
No.
why? Because he played against Washington in the rain like that in bad weather, and they won. Well, the defense gave up, I don't know, 0 points. If the defense gave up 0 points this game, you win too.
Yep. It's going to be fun. We knew it was going to be crazy. We called it, and it is. We're living through it now, and it's not going to be the last time. And then we're going to probably an overcorrection the other way. Trey Lance comes out and has a great game and beats a team. Guess what? MVP dynasty has started. It's going to be the greatest thing of all time. So we have that to look forward to. Then he follows that up with a bad game, and he's going to be the worst quarterback ever again. So welcome to 2022. That's what it's like to try to watch a quarterback develop in front of your eyes. And that's where we are right now. Wink.
Yep.
Thank you very much for joining us on another extremely successful Winky Wednesday edition of Locked On 49ers.
My pleasure.
Thanks, everybody, for making us your first listen. Croc and I back tomorrow. It's already time for a Thursday crossover pod. Ooh. Tomorrow. We'll be talking with Corbin Smith of Locked On Seahawks. Back then, right here, Locked On 49ers.
See ya.